When someone no longer values you, try this simple tip and see what happens. In Zen teachings and Buddhist philosophy, there is a profound lesson: you are under no obligation to stay where you are not appreciated. Just as a lotus flower cannot bloom on barren ground, humans cannot thrive in circumstances or alongside people who fail to recognize their worth. This wisdom stems from an understanding of the impermanence of life and the importance of self-respect. It reminds us that clinging to situations or individuals who do not value us will only lead to suffering. Wu and the power of self-respect. Wu once lived in a peaceful environment, surrounded by the beauty of nature. He devoted his life to helping others, sharing kindness and wisdom without expecting much in return. However, over time, he noticed something troubling. The very people who once sought his guidance now began to drift away. His kindness was taken for granted, and his presence no longer seemed meaningful in their eyes. Confused and hurt, Wu turned to his teacher for advice. The teacher, a master of Zen philosophy, listened patiently and then asked, "What happens when you pour water into a cup that is already full?" Wu answered, "The water overflows." The teacher nodded and said, "You are pouring your energy and value into a space that can no longer hold or appreciate it. It is time for you to reclaim your essence and direct it wisely. Recognize your own worth." To help Wu understand more clearly, the teacher shared a story. When a pearl of unmatched beauty is discovered, people admire it for its perfection and radiance. Yet, over time, the pearl is passed from hand to hand. Its value is forgotten, and it begins to be treated like an ordinary stone, discarded and overlooked. But has the pearl truly lost its value, or have people simply lost the ability to recognize its brilliance? Wu was silent. He realized that his worth was not determined by how others perceived him, but by his own intrinsic value. The power of silence and distance. Wu took the first step to regain balance. He stopped seeking validation from those who no longer appreciated him. The master advised, "Do not argue, do not plead, and do not seek explanations." When someone no longer values you, step back in silence, observe without anger, and detach without resentment. Wu began withdrawing from those who had rejected him. He stopped offering unsolicited help, refrained from initiating conversations, and focused on his personal growth. At first, this change confused those around him. However, as Wu's presence faded, his value gradually became apparent. The tasks Wu once handled with ease now became burdens for others. The kindness and wisdom they had once taken for granted were now sorely missed. This silent retreat taught Wu an invaluable lesson. Sometimes, it is in absence that our true worth is most profoundly recognized. By creating space, Wu not only protected his dignity but also allowed others the opportunity to reflect on what they had lost. Absence creates awareness. As the master taught, absence creates space for appreciation. Only when something is lost do many realize its true value. However, this lesson is not about revenge or vindication, but about finding balance. Nurturing inner strength. During his period of silence and detachment, Wu turned inward. He practiced mindfulness meditation, observing his emotions without judgment. The master introduced him to the concept of anatta, the principle of non-self, emphasizing that attachment to external validation only creates unnecessary suffering. Wu learned to let go of the need for approval and repeated a mantra, "I am enough, not because others say so, but because I exist." Gradually, Wu's heart, once weighed down by rejection, grew lighter. He realized that his value was unshakable and did not depend on external circumstances. By embracing his inner strength, Wu rediscovered peace and clarity, standing firm in the knowledge that his worth is inherent and self-defined. Those around Wu changed. As weeks passed, those who once undervalued Vu began to notice his absence. Some approached him with heartfelt apologies, while others, bound by their pride, maintained their distance. The master reminded Vu, not everyone will acknowledge your worth, even when you step back. But this is not your burden to carry. Redefining boundaries. For those who returned with sincerity, Vu welcomed them with compassion but with newfound clarity. He established clear boundaries to ensure that his value would never again be overlooked. For those who did not return, Vu let them go without bitterness, accepting the impermanence of life's journey. Through this experience, Vu not only regained his peace and self-respect, but also came to deeply understand that true worth does not require recognition. It exists naturally as an inseparable part of who he is. Impermanence and the lesson of self-respect. Vu had learned one of Zen Buddhism's most profound truths, impermanence. Just as the seasons change, relationships in life also shift with time. Clinging to things that no longer serve us only prolongs suffering. His master concluded with a parable. There was a tree that bore sweet fruit, and people came to enjoy its shade and its gifts. Yet, over time, some became careless, carving their names into its bark and breaking its branches. Despite this, the tree stood firm, silently offering what it could. When the time came to shed its leaves, it did so gracefully, knowing that new growth awaited. The master advised, "Be like the tree. Give your best without expecting anything in return. And when the time comes to let go, do so with serenity and peace." Change and inner strength. Vu's newfound peace not only changed the way others perceived him, but also reshaped his entire existence. As he focused on his personal growth, he began to attract relationships and opportunities that aligned with his true nature. His teacher reminded him, "What you nurture within will be reflected outside. When you respect your own value, the world will reflect that back to you." Vu understood that being dismissed was not a curse but a teacher, helping him recognize the areas where he had compromised his dignity in pursuit of harmony. By addressing these imbalances, he opened up to a higher state of being, where his energy was no longer wasted on those who rejected it, but was nurtured within and shared with those who truly valued it. Freedom in letting go. One day, a student asked Vu, "But what if I love those who disregard me? What if I can't bear to let them go?" Vu replied, "Love does not mean binding yourself to suffering. True love, even for others, must start with love for oneself. Loving yourself means refusing to stay in a place where your value is diminished. It doesn't mean you stop loving them, but you choose to love them from afar, to protect your peace." Over time, Vu realized that letting go was not only a way to regain value in the eyes of others, but also the path to freedom. His teacher explained through a metaphor. Imagine you are holding a lantern in the darkness. If someone rejects the light you offer, do you extinguish it? Or do you continue to carry it, illuminating the path for yourself and those who are willing to walk with you? This metaphor became the foundation of Vu's life. He no longer sought to convince others of his worth, instead, he chose to shine. He understood that those destined to walk with him would find their way to the light. The harmony between acceptance and boundaries. Through this experience, Vu learned how to combine acceptance with setting boundaries. He accepted the impermanence of relationships while also establishing boundaries to protect his self-respect. As a result, he not only lived in peace but also inspired those around him, helping them to find their own light and strength within. The power of self-respect and the final lesson. Vu had found balance between compassion and boundaries. He understood that kindness doesn't mean enduring disrespect. Compassion can coexist with strength, and forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean closeness. For those who had once disregarded him but later sought reconciliation, Vu forgave them while maintaining clear boundaries. He no longer tried to go beyond his limits to prove his worth. Instead, his actions and energy spoke for themselves. The circle of self-respect. One evening, the teacher asked Vu to observe a pond. Vu noticed the ripples created by a single pebble, radiating out and touching every corner of the water's surface. The teacher said, "Your journey is like these ripples. By valuing yourself, you send waves of respect and balance into the world. These waves inspire others, but remember that it all starts from the center, from you." This realization filled Vu with gratitude. He no longer saw rejection as misfortune, but as a blessing that allowed him to gain a deeper understanding of himself and life. Living by the truth, a life of quiet confidence. Vu's transformation was not a loud declaration, but a silent, steadfast presence. He moved through life with grace, no longer clinging to those who did not appreciate him. Instead, he radiated a natural confidence that attracted others to him. When doubts arose, he remembered his teacher's farewell words. "The lotus does not seek attention, it blooms in its own time and way." And so, Vu lived a life of self-respect, peace, and authenticity. He proved that the greatest response when someone does not appreciate you is not to convince them to change, but to value yourself even more. Vu's story is not just about rejection, it is a journey of awakening. It teaches us that our worth is never diminished by how others perceive us. Instead, each moment of being overlooked is an opportunity to rediscover our inner strength, refocus our attention, and reclaim our peace. Finding freedom in self-respect. When someone no longer values you, try stepping back and turning inward. The universe will respond. You might lose some relationships, but you will gain something far greater. As Zen philosophy teaches, when you lose what you think you need, you find your true self. This is the path to freedom, the deepest lesson in self-respect. When you honor yourself, you free yourself from the chains of external validation and live a life full of meaning and peace. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe below and hit the notification bell so you never miss any new content. Please leave a comment to share your thoughts and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video. When you stop caring, the results will come. Have you ever noticed that the more you try to chase after something, the more it seems to slip away from you? This paradox is one of the most fascinating truths of life. When you stop obsessing over the outcome, you often achieve it much more easily. Buddhist philosophy and Zen teachings say that attachment to the result can be a barrier on the path to success. When you learn to surrender to the moment and let go of expectations, you open yourself to possibilities far beyond your imagination. Consider this timeless teaching. The one who clenches will lose what they seek, while the one who opens their hands will receive without asking. This wisdom becomes the foundation for a free and harmonious life. By letting go of control, you not only find peace, but also achieve things that are more meaningful in life. A story about transformation, surrender, and the mysterious power of letting go. Long ago, in a peaceful forest surrounded by towering cliffs, there was a young monk seeking enlightenment. He was diligent, hardworking, and obsessed with perfecting his meditation practice. Every day, he would sit for hours trying to empty his mind and connect with deeper truths of existence. No matter how difficult it was, he was determined to try. One day, while meditating by a waterfall, he noticed how easily the water flowed. It didn't struggle or fight to reach the river below, it simply surrendered to gravity and allowed the journey to unfold. Impressed by this observation, the monk realized that nature operates without resistance or attachment. But understanding this wasn't enough. He wanted results. Frustrated, he began to meditate harder, forcing his mind to concentrate. His breath slowed, and his thoughts began to disappear. However, the more he tried, the more restless he became. One evening, his master came near and said, "Your mind is like a clenched fist. The tighter you grip, the more energy you waste and the less you achieve. Would you like to hear a story about the art of letting go?" The monk eagerly nodded. The master began, "Once, there was a farmer plagued by a drought. Every day, he would pray for rain, dig ditches, and lament his misfortune. His mind was consumed with stress and worry. He was always thinking about how to resolve the situation. He couldn't bear to see the land dry and the plants withering. He thought he had to do something, to act immediately to save everything. One day, a wise traveler passed through his land and said, 'Stop chasing the rain. Take care of the soil, nourish the seeds, and let the sky decide.' Though skeptical, the farmer followed the advice. He shifted his focus to enriching the land, and unexpectedly, the rains came, bringing a bountiful harvest. When the farmer asked, 'Why did this happen?' the traveler replied, 'When you stop clinging to the sky, you create space for miracles to happen.' The master looked at the young monk and said, 'Stop chasing peace like the farmer chases the rain. Practice diligently without expecting anything in return. The results will come, but not through pressure.' Letting go, the difficult journey. Inspired by the story, the monk decided to pursue detachment. However, he soon realized that letting go was not easy. While meditating, his mind would still wander with thoughts like, 'Am I doing this right? When will I find peace?' Day after day, he struggled with his own expectations. He became restless, doubting the teachings of his master. But deep down, he understood that true change required patience and faith. One afternoon, the monk observed a butterfly struggling to break free from its cocoon. He considered helping it, but his master stopped him. "If you intervene, the butterfly will never gain the strength it needs to fly. Let it struggle. It is through this struggle that transformation occurs." The monk realized the parallel with his own journey. He could not force enlightenment, he had to let the process unfold naturally. Gradually, the monk let go of his obsession with results. Instead of meditating to achieve peace, he meditated to simply be present. Instead of striving for perfection, he accepted imperfection. At first, it seemed like nothing had changed. But over time, he noticed his breath deepening, his thoughts becoming more still, and his heart growing lighter. He no longer measured his progress or sought validation. He simply sat, like the waterfall he once admired, flowing naturally without effort. One day, while meditating, the monk felt a deep sense of tranquility wash over him. The entire forest seemed to merge with his being. The boundaries between him and the world disappeared, and a profound realization emerged. Peace was never something to be achieved, it was always within, waiting to be discovered. When the monk shared his experience with his teacher, the elder smiled and said, "What you have found is the result of non-attachment. When you stopped caring about the outcome, you cleared space for peace to emerge. Remember, the journey is more important than the destination. By surrendering to the process, you have connected with yourself." The young monk asked, "Why does care hinder results?" The teacher replied, "Care is not the problem, but attachment is the cause. When you become attached to a specific result, you create stress and resistance. Imagine trying to hold water in your hand. If you squeeze tightly, the water will slip away. But if you gently cup your hand, the water will stay. Life flows in a similar way. Trust the process, and it will unfold in its own time." To further illustrate, the teacher told a story. A young archer once tried relentlessly to perfect his archery skills. He practiced tirelessly, always focusing on hitting the bullseye. However, no matter how hard he tried, his arrows would often miss the target. One day, an older archer watched him and said, "The problem is you are aiming too high. Relax your grip, breathe evenly, and let the arrow fly without fear." The young archer initially mocked the advice, but later decided to try it. To his surprise, he saw a significant improvement in his aim. The key was not to try harder, but to trust his skill and let go of the result. The monk remembered this lesson and began applying the principle of letting go not only in meditation but in all aspects of life. When tending his garden, he focused on the joy of planting rather than expecting the flowers to bloom. When teaching young monks, he found contentment in the act of teaching rather than in the success of his students. Over time, he realized that letting go did not mean giving up. It meant fully engaging in the process without being bound by the outcome. This brought him a sense of freedom and fulfillment like never before. A young monk asked, "Does letting go mean we should stop setting goals or striving for something?" The elder monk smiled and answered, "Not at all. Goals are like the stars in the night sky. They show the direction, but they are not the destination. What matters is the journey and the way you walk along the path. Letting go does not mean giving up, but loosening your grip on the result and embracing the present moment with trust and clarity." He continued, "Life is like a dance. If you only focus on the final step, you will miss the beauty of the movement. A dancer doesn't try to finish the dance as quickly as possible. Instead, they immerse themselves in each step, trusting the rhythm to guide them. Similarly, when you stop obsessing over the result, you will fully experience the joy of the process. And by doing so, the result will come naturally, just as music finds its harmony." Many people sought advice from the elder monk about letting go. They asked, "How can I let go of something that means so much to me? If I don't care, will I fail?" He replied, "Letting go does not mean indifference. It is about freeing yourself from attachment. Caring deeply about something is natural and beautiful. But when care turns into obsession or fear of failure, it binds you like a chain. Trust in your efforts and in the timing of life. Release the need to control everything." He often reminded them, "You cannot calm a raging river by striking it. You must let it settle on its own." Finally, the elder monk shared, "Keep your soul like a bowl of still water. When your mind is clear and undisturbed, life will naturally reflect all the wonderful things, just as still water reflects the sky." By letting go and harmonizing with the natural rhythm of life, the elder monk not only found peace for himself, but also inspired others to live with trust and true freedom. The art of letting go, a test, a legacy. One day, the elder monk devised a test to demonstrate the power of letting go. He filled a bowl with water and placed a flower petal on the surface. Then, he instructed his students to remove the petal without spilling a single drop of water. The first student tried using force, dipping his hand into the bowl. The water overflowed, and the petal sank. The second student approached more gently, using his fingertip to move the petal, but his trembling hand created ripples, and again, the petal sank. Finally, the elder monk took the bowl and gently tilted it, allowing the water to flow naturally. The petal drifted to the edge of the bowl, where he easily picked it up. He said, "This is the art of letting go. When you force things, you break the balance. When you act with patience and harmony, the results will come to you." The subtle irony of life. The elder monk recognized a strange irony. Those who practice letting go often achieve more than those who desperately cling to their goals. Freedom from obsession allows them to approach challenges with clarity and creativity. A typical example is a potter. The more he tried to create a perfect pot, the more mistakes his creations had. After applying the monk's teachings, he worked with a joyful and relaxed mindset. As a result, his works improved significantly, and he became famous. When asked about his success, the potter said, "I stopped trying to create perfection. Instead, I enjoyed the process of shaping the clay, and perfection came to me." Trusting the universe. One evening, as he gazed at the starry sky, the elder monk shared profound wisdom with his disciples. The universe has its own rhythm, beyond our understanding. When you let go of attachment to outcomes, you align with that rhythm. Results do not come from force, but from harmony with the flow of life. A disciple asked, "But what if the result we desire never comes?" The monk replied, "Perhaps the result you are seeking is not what you truly need. Life often gives us not what we want, but what we need to grow and be happy. Trust in the universe, which holds wisdom far beyond our understanding." The power of patience. The monk often compared patience to planting a tree. When you plant a seed, you cannot stand there and demand it to grow. You water it, provide light, and trust that the earth will do its part. Over time, the tree grows tall and strong, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it to develop. In the later years of his life, the elder monk reflected, "Life is like a river. When you swim against the current, you tire and go nowhere. When you surrender to the flow, you are carried to your destination with ease. Trust the river, trust life, and trust yourself. Let go, and you will realize that everything you seek has always been within you." The disciples preserved this wisdom, passing it down through generations. The elder monk's legacy became a beacon, reminding those searching for peace in a world full of struggle. The key to fulfillment lies not in holding on but in letting go, not in striving but in surrendering. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel below and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any new content. Feel free to leave comments and share your ideas for future videos. See you in the next video.